All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Cosplay Bites, the show about cosplays, conventions, and all the nerdy bits and bytes. I just want to start off by saying both thank you and I'm super duper sorry that there's been a very uh, barren lack of episodes lately. Long story short, my laptop had a freak accident, so to speak, and had to get repaired. Um, and I was just without it for a couple of weeks. And we were just about to do an episode using some workarounds, but then I got a message saying that no, it's fixed. So I was like, oh, good. So got my laptop back, and so now I'm just geared up and ready to go. So before I get into introducing my lovely guest, just little couple of admin stuff. Just a quick shout out to my fellow patrons over on my Patreon. I have Kendall, Nicole Marie Jean, Noah, Mink the Satyr, Oh My Sophie, and Coralia Jade. And then, there we go. If you go over to my blog, The Lightning Palace, much like I have just said that I've been without my laptop for a couple of weeks, so I also haven't been able to write as much post as of late. So you can actually now look on and read my review of the game Hades by Supergiant Games, which was very addicting, very gorgeous looking game. And then I also have my upcoming review on Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, which I'm now playing through again, more so in replaying through songs on a much harder difficulty. So that's been fun. That's been a real nostalgia trip for me as someone who's basically played almost every single game in the series. And then I have a cosplay feature post that I have to write up maybe later tonight on Oh My Sophie's Pain from Final Fantasy X-2. And then also just a heads up, there may be a blog hiatus, so to speak, although my guest tonight said she would definitely help out in sharing some of her cosplays with me to write about. And I got to stop doing run-on sentences. Geesh. Yeah, because the pandemic isn't slowing down anytime soon, and we've actually now have heard just more cons into 2021 that have been canceled. Specifically, that come to my mind, MagFest and CastleCon have been officially canceled for next year. So that's a bummer. But yeah, I think that's all the admin stuff. So getting on to my guest, I have with me the lovely Kia Sangria.
Hi, everybody. Good evening.
All right. So real nice story of so Kia actually reached out to me in wanting to be a guest on my show. So I thought, oh shit, yes please, thank you for reaching out. Because no one's ever done that before.
Really?
No, like I'm the one that made me doing the reaching out, and yeah, no one's
Well, I
ever.
just want to say I found you through your September podcast about cosplayers that were still like creating like even during this time, and I felt like so inspired because like for me, I have also kind of like been in a funk when it comes to like creating things, and like as much as I have fun creating things, like sometimes I just don't always want to do it because then like the reality that I'm currently living in sets in, and it gets so depressing. But anyway, so listening to that episode, I was just like, wow, like I am not by myself when I feel like this, and I feel seen. And so yeah, that kind of like prompted me to reach out because like I have like my own story to tell, and I was like, oh, I wonder if you would be interested in like sitting down with me to kind of like talk about things. So I was really, really excited when you like agreed to have me on your show because I have a lot to say.
All right, well, I mean, we got all the time in the world until one of us gets super tired and wants to go to bed. So, let me think then. All right, well then I will just leave it open to you. So, all I know from doing my quick research on you, I apologize if I didn't do enough research because again, without my laptop, and I've been living on my phone and my tablet. But you mainly so obviously, you cosplay, that's why you're here. But you also run a blog, which was, to my surprise, very fun to find out. And a lot of the posts that you've seen as I glimpsed through, you do a lot of tutorials with like makeup and sewing cosplays,
Yes.
mainly with if I can remember at the top of my head, simplicity patterns and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
why don't we start from the beginning? What got you into cosplay?
Okay. For me, what really got me into cosplay was the anime Sailor Moon. It was one of my first animes, like growing up, and I absolutely loved the way that these characters looked. I loved the way that they dressed, like the sailor suits and stuff like that. I absolutely fell in love with the design, like the first time I saw it. And so, like, I kind of decided when I was like, all the like so young, I was just like, I'm gonna be this. I want to be this when I grow up. I don't know how I'm gonna be this, but I'm gonna do it somehow, some way. And so then as I got older, like, and I discovered cosplay, I was like, wow, people are actually like getting up in here and they're like dressing up as like these characters and they look super cool. I want to do that too. So that's kind of what like prompted me to get started myself.
Okay, so what would you say? I mean, you probably do remember. What was your first convention where you like either made or bought a cosplay to wear for that convention?
So my very first convention was New York Anime Festival. This was back in, I guess it had to be like 2012, I think. 2012, I think. Yeah, that was my first first convention. And I think the costume that I wore for that one, the costume that I wore for that convention was actually one of my older like ballet costumes. And then I literally just kind of like modified it so that it looked like something from like Cardcaptor Sakura, because that was another anime too that like I got to see when I was really young.
Okay,
But that was like the first convention that I ever went to where I like actually dressed up.
right. Yeah, no, that was actually the same year for me.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
when I meant to solely meet Jessica Negri because at the time she was starting to blow up, and she actually had won the that lollipop chainsaw competition
Hmm.
and became the spokesmodel for the game essentially. And that prompted her to go on a tour of sorts of various commissions to promote the game. And one such spot was in Boston with PAX East, and that was the year I went.
Okay.
And so that was
That's
my
so
first.
cool.
Yeah, so that was my first con. She actually knew who I was because we were interacting with each other online for a little bit through her fan pages and whatnot. And like I did a very, very bare bones New 52 Nightwing cosplay. Um,
Ooh.
it was a lot of fun. We had like a mini photo shoot at the spot where she was located, and yeah, I've just been going to cons ever since. And
That's
then
so cool. That
and
sounds really
then
fun.
yeah, yeah, and then I picked up the blog writing back about a year later, actually, through a very funny, somewhat frustrating story. And then so I've been running that for about 7 years, and I guess I've sort of made a name for myself because I've gotten a lot of attention or recognition from like various other well-known cosplayers from even around the globe, so to speak. And then this show came into being about 2 years ago, where I was just like, I've been doing my blog for at the time 5 years, where I celebrated that milestone, did a whole rebranding, which you can see with my little avatar. Like that's the logo that I made for it. Um, just wanting to do something more for the community, and I was just looking into podcasting. Did my first couple of episodes, and then when I finally got into the swing of things, and now I'm just like heavily invested in it, where it's become a key part of my life, both recreationally and then also professionally, because this has given me a lot of skills to use when it comes to like finding jobs that I'm hoping that are interesting enough for me to go for.
That's great. And congratulations on all of that. Your blog is like very like extensive. When I went and like took a look at it, I was like, wow, there's so much stuff here. That's awesome.
There's been a lot more. I deleted a lot of old cringe-worthy posts because I was just like, I don't want to look at this anymore.
Totally fair. I think,
Yeah.
but you know what? That kind of shows how you level up, where you can look at your past work and be like, it's above me now. So that's really good that you've come such a long way.
Yeah, and then actually this year, so like I had been running my blog for a while now, and like it was always a dream of mine to like go to a convention like as media, like covering the convention for my blog, and I would always stick with New York Comic Con. It would always never pan out until this year when I got a media pass under my own work for PAX East using my podcast.
Wow.
And that was the best time of my goddamn life. Going to a con for a full 4 days, all set up alone in a hotel, and it was just like, it was so cool.
A dream.
Yeah, yeah. Like going to the VIP after party.
Okay.
It was like the VIP like media after party from Predator. I think it was Predator Gaming Computers or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Went to that, and yeah, I was able to do interview with some game developers. One of which led me to buy their game like the day of online or digitally through my Switch, and that has become one of my all time favorite games for this year.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's my spiel. That's my life, and then okay, so you said you had a lot to say or a lot to share. So I guess in relation to you finding me through content creation with quarantine, so I guess then the obvious question that I'm thinking of now would be like, so how is, I mean, you had mentioned before that it's been tough on you for creating during quarantine because I think for a lot of people I think you're right in that most people love to create and they love to produce work, but the fact that going to conventions has been such a key part in like meeting fans, networking with other people, just showing off your work. There's just like there's nothing happening. We're
Right.
all
And I
stuck at
think,
home.
yeah, and I think too, like also like the strain of cosplay too, because obviously we all know that cosplay can be expensive. And so, you not only have like this pandemic looming over you, but you have a lot of people, cosplayers included, out of a job.
That's
So how do
yeah,
you find the motivation to create where it's like you don't particularly have like the money to create, no matter how badly you want to? And then just the circumstances around you as well. It's like how, it can be really hard to want to do anything because,
right.
cons is how we got to see like our friends and stuff like that. And it's like now, there is none of that happening, and the drive just sometimes like isn't there. So yeah, like there's, because as much as we, our little community, our community is small, the cosplay community is very small, but we're all individuals, we're all for the most part adults, and so we all deal with like real world issues, and this is something that affected all of us in
Yeah.
some capacity. So yeah, like it was, for me especially, like it was kind of like a struggle to continue to find the drive to like create things and create content and all those other things. But you're like listening to that episode of your podcast was like a very big help because, it even for me, it was just like, not that I took any solace and I should feel good about it, but it just kind of felt good that like other people understood like what it was that I was feeling.
Right. Yeah, no, that I have never ever heard anyone say something like that about my show, like having helped them go through such a difficult time. So that really really means a lot to me. So I'm very happy that it did help you, and that you are pushing through this very shitty time frame. You're still creating your blog content, and again, very well thought out, very professionally well put together. So, because I noticed just some blogging I don't know where the thought is going, so never mind. But anyway, so when did you start blogging?
I want to say I started blogging like maybe 2 years ago, and like when I first started blogging, it was kind of like on and off because I wasn't really 100% sure what it is that I wanted to talk about. And to be honest, sometimes I'm still not even sure like what it is that I want to talk about. But I know like I want to share things with people. And so that's why like you see a lot of like tutorials there and like pattern reviews and other things, because like really what I want to do is just like if anyone comes across my blog, I'd want it to be a help to them in some way. And so
Right.
I started writing about things that I think would be helpful. Like actually today I published a new blog post that was like six tips for creating cosplay content at home. Just because I see that it's still something that a lot of people like struggle with and they don't have to. So I kind of gave a breakdown of like what are the important elements when it comes to like creating cosplay at home. And I talk about like lighting equipment is important. I talk about utilizing your smartphone to create content because it's a smartphone for a reason. And I also talk about like having the intention to actually create, because I think if you don't have the intention to create or in the true motivation, like nothing that you do is going to like turn out the way that you want it to. So it's a very interesting read. And
Yeah.
when I was writing it for myself. So I kind of, when I write things on my blog, I kind of like, what is something that I wish I would have known like 3 years ago? 2 years ago, or even like 3 months ago. So I kind of like write for myself, but then also hope that it helps somebody else who comes across that, that piece of content from me.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's that kind of in relation to me because that's what I hope that this podcast and my blog are able to do just for the cosplay community as a whole. Um, just give something to give the community like a bright slate, so to speak, to look at and like show all like the amazingness that this community can offer. Because I mean, like, especially for females in this community, I mean, it can be a little bit draining where you got like the slut shaming and like all the mean, stupid comments that strangers on the internet will leave on your photos. And
Right.
I just wanted to create sort of like a safe space for cosplay and that doing the best that I can in showing the community in a positive light, but while also touching on some controversies that have and unfortunately still kind of plague the community, such as like like the slut shaming and the hating on the sexy cosplay side, and especially like blackfacing in the community.
Yeah,
That's still apparent. I don't know why, and it always seems to be when I ever see that like pop up again, it's always from the European side.
yeah, that's like a whole thing about people that really don't just they try to pretend that like racism and things that occur in the US is like singularly a United States kind of an issue, but it's really not true. Like, racism and things of that nature is literally everywhere. And I don't, I know exactly what it is you're saying. I'm not really sure like, where the disconnect is. But it happens, and when it does happen, it like really sucks, especially when people like double down and they're not open to being teachable
to
about
understand
why those things are like not okay to do.
Yeah, that just what frustrates me the most. It's just like if there's no getting through to them, then they're just gotta leave it as it be, and then just like block them out or shun them or whatever. It's like
Mm-hmm.
if they're not willing to understand, then there's really not much else you can do. So,
Right.
I mean, don't worry. I promise we'll get more positive and all happy later on. But just oddly, the decent transition. So, you're a POC cosplayer, and so like
Well,
I
I
had,
actually prefer. I mean, POC is like one term, but I'm black.
okay,
Yeah, I'm a black cosplayer.
okay. Well, no, I just didn't want to be offensive. I don't know.
Oh no, 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 no! It's not. It's not. Don't please. It's definitely not offensive. But there is a difference between like a person of color and somebody that's black. Just because like I have my own unique experiences as a black person, and people of
Right.
color, other people of color, can sometimes be anti-black. So we don't all fit under the same umbrella. But you wouldn't know that.
Okay. I wouldn't again. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've said POC to other times I've had black cosplayers on my show. So as I was saying to you on Twitter earlier before we started, like I've had a couple of cosplayers, black cosplay photographers and whatnot, be on my show. And so I always bring this up, and I know it seems like I'm beating a dead horse. Like, you're gonna probably hear the same thing, but honestly, you never know if other black cosplayers have different experiences of being black in the community. So I guess leading into that, so I mean, like, you started cosplaying in 2012. How has it been for you cosplaying as a whole, given your skin color and whatnot?
Well, to be honest, like 100%, I don't think I've ever, I'm not gonna say ever. I have, I think the most, I haven't, I've only had one run-in where someone was kind of nasty to me because of the color of my skin. And that was on a cosplay that I posted on Instagram as Ray from Neon Genesis.
Okay.
And like the person just commented like Rega, which I guess like they were trying to do a play on the N word, but it wasn't successful because like honestly, I had to read the comment like 3 times to be like, what are you talking about? Like, what does this comment mean? And I was just like, oh, okay, you're trying to be funny. I didn't respond to the comment. I literally just deleted it. Um,
Sure.
and that's kind of like for the most part kind of how I handle any type of situation like that. I just delete the comment. Like I'm really not going to try to engage with you because their comments, the racist comments that people throw around, they're just not original. And so
Not really,
you're
no.
right. So it's like you'll get my attention, but not in the way that you want, because I'm just gonna see your comment and delete it and move along. Like I'm not entertaining that.
Yeah.
And like one of the things that I decided a long time ago for myself was that nobody was gonna sit here and make me feel bad about my skin and in cosplay. Like you're not doing that at
Yeah.
all. I'm not gonna let you do that because like as fun as this hobby is for me and as many great memories as I've made with it, it's really just a hobby for me. And I'm not gonna let you take that away. And I've never had anyone get up under my skin because I've never entertained anybody like having something to say
Right.
about my skin color. So for me, like being a black person in the cosplay community, I know it can be really, really like crappy. I know people can really be nasty. People can really be hurtful. They can say some really disgusting things. I haven't had anyone say that directly to me. Now, could a photo of me have ended up somewhere online and someone said something about me? Um, I haven't seen it. Or you know what? That's not true. I did create a costume for Shenron, and I think one of these like Instagram cosplay feature pages like shared it, and somebody left like a nasty comment. But I don't give those things the time of day. So
Right.
it was just like I scrolled on by. Like it wasn't even something that like called my attention. It was just kind of like whatever, because none of these people are original when it comes to them like going after like black cosplayers. And I know some people can do it ferociously. I have not had that happen to me just yet.
Okay,
Um,
good.
I'm not looking for it, but I know
Well, yeah, don't look for it.
right. I know like where I stand right now, like no one is gonna sit here and make me feel bad about my skin and cosplay. Like you just aren't. I'm not
Good.
gonna let you have that.
Good. Good. Amen to that, sister.
Well,
um any So has it been difficult also with like doing photo shoots? Because I know and I hear of certain like cosplay photographers that for some stupid reason they just don't photograph black cosplayers for whatever stupid reason. Like, have you had any difficulties with that aspect, or have like photographers been like open to more than welcoming to like shoot your cosplay for like photos and whatnot?
so to be honest, I don't really, the photographers that I have shot with have been absolutely phenomenal. I haven't run into a photographer that hasn't wanted to like shoot my cosplay. And um I have so many like black photographers in my circle that like I don't really think I would ever be in a position where I would be like, oh, someone doesn't want to shoot with me.
Right.
But I don't just go up to any random photographer and I'm like, hey, would you shoot me? Like I've never done that. I
Oh
always just
no,
like
of course not. No.
portfolios to see like who they've shot previously. And to be completely honest with you, I have my own DSLR and my husband takes amazing pictures of me and my cosplays. So cosplay photographers are not like I've never experienced anyone not wanting to take a picture of me because I'm black, because like if there's so many other people out there that I can work with. And if all else fails, like I have my husband and my camera here to like shoot my costumes. And my husband has been shooting all of my cosplays, like all quarantine. So, you know,
Oh, that's fantastic.
yeah. So I haven't really had to deal with like any type of situations like that.
Okay, good. All right. So out of that somewhat awkward topic or somewhat depressing topic, more about you. So let's see. Going to Conference 2012, do you have a personal favorite convention that you go to in a specific year, or like do you have just a convention that like you go to every year and because it's always a favorite?
So for me, that con would definitely be Anime NYC. I prefer anime conventions over like comic book conventions. Just
Sure.
because I'm really weeby. I have so much fun there.
Sure.
One of the cons that I used to go to a lot was New York Anime Festival, and that got absorbed by New York Comic Con. And so
Correct.
basically
Yeah.
what happened was like New York Anime Festival became part of New York Comic Con, where it was like, okay, this is New York Comic Con. And then there's like one floor where it's just like anime. And so from that came actually Anime NYC, because the guy that was running New York Anime Festival decided to start his own thing, which is Anime NYC. And I think this year would have been the third or fourth year of Anime NYC. But they're doing that online actually right now, and that's my favorite convention. I absolutely love the energy that I feel in that place of all like the anime fans together. Like it's just always such a good time. And I was actually talking to my husband because I got to see in my Facebook memories the costumes that we wore last year, and I was like, damn, like it really sucks to be not being able to like go this year, because it's such a fun con and the people
It
are
is.
fun.
It is. Yeah. Because I'm very grateful that PAX East was around right when the pandemic was getting kicked into high gear, and it ended like just in time for stuff to get shut down. Because I think not just because it happened to be my first convention ever, but I think going there as media for a full 4 days made that my favorite convention to go to, other than New York Comic Con, which is only like honestly those two and Capticon. Occasionally, if I have the money and the time to do it, as my favorite con. But like Capticon for me is always a con where I get to see like a lot of my friends. Like I made a lot of new friends, some that are actually some of my closest friends. Period. That are from out of state or all over the country. But then also like a lot of cosplayers that I've been fans of from other countries will come down for Capticon specifically. So that's always been a blast to go
Yeah,
to.
and then you guys get to all like meet up again.
Yeah, absolutely. PAX East being somewhat local to me, because I'm in Rhode Island, so it's just a train ride away, which isn't that bad. And yeah, just walking around the city, made me fall in love with the city a lot more than I enjoy New York City, because I mean I've got a lot of family down there, so I've been to New York City quite a lot. But I don't know, it was just something about Boston that really struck me. I was like, you know what? If I ever got a chance to move down here for like a job, I would not mind it. As of right now, what is your favorite cosplay that you've made as of now?
Oh, so for me, that has to be my Snow White costume.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I absolutely love how that costume turned out. I took a lot of creative liberties when I was making that costume. And everything about it just brings me joy. I absolutely loved getting to wear it. And sometimes I literally like take it out the closet just to look at it, because it's like the craftsmanship in that costume, it jumped out, and I absolutely just loved making that costume, and the experience of like finishing it and getting to wear it and get pictures in it. So that is my favorite costume right now.
Okay. Interesting how fast you came up with the answer, because a lot of times I get the same response of like, oh my God, like making me choose between children. How could I choose a favorite?
It's, you know what, it's really basically that, because with each new thing I make, like it's just like, wow, I'm really in love with this, and then like 3 weeks later I make something new and it's like, wow, this is the best thing I've ever made.
Yeah, there you go.
So it changes for me, and I guess like for me the love is that like I made the costume myself, so like I just appreciate it so much more.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Um, so you had mentioned before that you have several cosplays that you're working on at the moment, and you said you were willing to share them.
Yes, I do. I am currently working. So majority of the costumes that you've seen from me thus far have been in partnership with Fabric Wholesale Direct, who I write for their blog, and I write about the costumes I make and how I made them because I'm using their fabric to make them.
Right, I remember you saying that. Yeah, that's an awesome deal. I want to touch on that in a second after you're done with this. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm constantly like creating things on like behalf of the blog, but not only am I creating content for their blog, but I'm also creating pieces that really mean a lot to me, for assorted reasons. And so, yeah, I would love to send you some of those costumes and, you know, talk about my reason for creating them and like what these costumes like mean to me. Because like, for example, with the Snow White costume, you know, people on the outside, they just see a Snow White costume. But the truth is that I've never, even when I was little, I've never owned a Disney princess anything. I never owned like any of the little dresses for like Halloween or anything like that. And so for me, making this Snow White costume was literally my chance to like get to live out a dream since I was a little girl. So that costume like meant like so much to me. So yeah, I definitely would love to like share that with you and like your audience about, you know, what these costumes mean to me. Because I don't, when I create something, I create because I have a feeling about it. It's not just a cosplay. It's not just a costume. Like it's a piece of me. And like, yeah, I would definitely love to share that with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, touching on you're currently working, not working, well, you have a partnership with, oh God, you said it was like a fabric warehouse company in New
Yeah.
York.
Uh,
So, okay, so how did that come about?
Well, I started working with Fabric Wholesale Direct, I want to say back in February or like March. And I've reached out because I bought fabric from them. I still buy fabric from them too. Even though I have a partnership with them, I still like purchase, you know, fabric for my projects. But I reached out to them because I saw they had a blog, which I thought was really interesting. And on this blog was like a couple of like cosplayers and things that had written about the pieces that they made using their fabric. And but I noticed after a certain point in time that some of the cosplay blogs themselves stopped. And so I reached out and I said, hey, you know, my name's Kia. I'm a cosplayer from New York City. And I sew like 95% of my costumes. And I'm currently working on a project. I would love to make this project featuring some of your fabric and then possibly like writing about it for you. And so they agreed to it. And they said, you know, we have a blog. And what we're really looking for is for people to contribute to our blog. And, you know, since you're a cosplayer, we'd love to kind of like learn, you know, work with more cosplayers and like highlight and feature and make our website more cosplay friendly. So we would
That's
be willing to
rad.
give you the fabric if you could write a blog post about the creation of like the costume, like any patterns you used, any techniques you used, and just write it from the point of view as if the person reading it is like a beginner and they have no idea what this is. And so basically, I was tasked with like creating my costume, but also writing about how I created it and, you know, any type of special techniques I used to create it with my sewing machine, so that if someone who was a beginner came across this blog, they could either make the same costume if they wanted to, or if not, they at least knew how to work with the pattern that I used to create the costume. And so after that project, I kind of thought it was going to be like a one-time thing between me and them. But then, you know, after I finished the first costume, they're like, okay, what's the next? And I was like, oh, you want uh, another project for your blog? And I'm just like, okay, like that's great. And then like ever since then, it's like after I completed something, like, okay, so what's the next design? And it's just like, oh, okay, here's something else that I've been thinking.
Oh
I'm
man.
pretty strategic when it comes to the costumes that I pick. I try to use different fabrics for costumes just so on their blog they can see the many different costumes that, many different fabrics, I'm sorry, the many different fabrics that you can use to create certain costumes. So I have like blogs on there that, you know, for this project, I'm making a spandex bodysuit and I'm working with stretchy material, you know, for like a superhero costume. I have blogs where I'm working with like satin, which is like if you're making a dress, or a corset or something of that nature, here's a blog on how to properly work with that fabric and work with a pattern that will produce like really great results should you choose to use this fabric. But one of the things I loved about doing it is that because I get to write about how I made the costume, I my biggest wish is that a cosplayer who's like looking for fabric will come across this blog and just learn something from it before they check out with whatever's in their cart. So I really like that I get to kind of be a resource on Fabric Wholesale Direct's websites, that not only as a cosplayer can you find really amazing quality fabrics for an affordable price, but you can also find some resources there on how to sew some of these fabrics. And that's really important to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's fantastic. Wow, I'm glad you're still doing it, and I'm glad it's working out fantastically for you. Yeah, getting to do sponsored content can be enjoyable. Sometimes, and I know I shouldn't feel bad because I still kind of do, but like I got a chance to do a sponsored blog post from a contact company, like Contact for Cosplays. So they sent me some of their contacts to look at. I'm too much of a wimp to put them in.
Oh my gosh.
Because I've never worn contacts in my life. So, and I eventually threw them out because they've been like sitting in a container for God knows how long, and they got so hard and like crunchy, and then they like started to crack, and I was like, oh God.
Yeah, definitely don't put those in your eyes.
Yeah, so I mean, I did a review on them on how they looked, but I just felt so bad that like I didn't actually wear them because I'm too much of a wimp to put in stuff in my eye. But it was interesting. I mean, I've gotten review copies of certain indie games. Like one such indie game from the same developer that I met with at PAX East, who was so great. It was a company called Toge Productions. They're an Indonesian based game developing company. And one of the games they had at PAX East that I learned about through like their email list that I was a part of was a game called Coffee Talk. And just the premise of it sold me instantly. And so I went over to their booth, like said I had an appointment. They looked me up, they found me. I tried out like the first chapter of their game. I told them like, holy smokes, I loved it. I'm gonna buy it like as soon as I get back to my hotel. And then they gave me they gave me like a little like press media like package.
Oh, that's so
like,
nice.
Like, and I still can't use it because like, so it was like, so they gave me this little case that had like little like print collateral flyers of their upcoming games, but then also a thumb drive of like all their demos that they had to showcase at the con. But I can't play them because I'm on a Mac.
Wow, I'm so sorry.
But then they also gave me flavored coffee. They gave me raspberry flavored like ground coffee that I then made at the hotel. And I was like, oh wow, thank you.
That's quite an interesting gift. Yeah. But a very nice one all the same.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was related to the game that I played, so I mean, it made sense, but it was still kind of hilarious. Yeah. So that's great. So you mentioned that anime is your favorite. So would you say that anime is your favorite, like, media, so to speak, out of like gaming and comic books and all that stuff?
I mean, I think anime is what I spend the most of my time with, like just like when it comes to like consuming media. As far as cosplay is concerned, I feel like I do more pop culture cosplays than I do like anime cosplays. Like I don't fall into any like one category. When it comes to like the cosplays that I do, I don't know. I vibe with so many things. I just tend to like make what I feel.
Yeah, no, because I mean, well, I asked this because I mean, like some cosplayers either they are like sort of like, and I don't mean in a bad way, but they're kind of like one note and always sticking to this media. But I mean, like some cosplayers have a favorite media to cosplay from. Like others like to cosplay video game characters a lot more than they do their anime cosplays, or some do it the other way around. So
Yeah, I'm a little all over the place because like I like so many different things. So like I can't box myself in and be like, okay, I'm gonna strictly cosplay just this. Like I can't do that.
no,
It's just not me. Like I like so many different things. I gotta create what I feel.
yeah. I mean, to those who can, more power to you. Like I know a couple of cosplayers, or have seen a couple of cosplayers that only seem to cosplay characters from the show Ruby, which is interesting. But there's that. Let's see. If you had, and maybe you already did, so I mean, we'll see how you answer this question. If you had all the money, like if money and unlimited resources
Bayonetta,
was not an issue for you, what cosplay would you make?
Bayonetta. It would be Bayonetta.
Bayonetta. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, yep, that makes sense. Yeah, she's got crazy hair.
Absolutely. I love her. I love her character. I love her clothing. And um I think I could probably make the costume because that's what I intended to do originally. It's just the fabric that I want to use for it. I just don't have the talent yet
To
to use
work with it.
right. I don't. So I think once I finally get good at working with that fabric, then I think she's fair game. But as of right now, like she's the one that I want to do the most.
Right. So then I guess you're probably gonna like tackle like other characters that use the same material that Bayonetta does, but in very small quantities, so that
um,
you get like a feel for it. I'm guessing.
I mean, you know what? It may not always be like a cosplay. I might just go ahead and like try making a dress out of the fabric that I want to use for Bayonetta and then
Oh,
seeing
that's
how I
true.
do that. Because I don't just sew cosplay, I also sew like clothing too. Like I just recently debuted like a wool coat that I made. So I don't just like sew for cosplay. I sew, it's a hobby for me. Cosplay is part of it, but I make other things too.
Okay. Interesting. Very cool. Um, is there anything else that you want to talk about or wanted to touch on? Because I'm drawing a blank right now.
Honestly, I really think that we got a lot out of our conversation tonight. I have a couple of new things in the works, especially on my YouTube channel, where I will in December start doing actual sewing streams. Where if you choose to join me, you will get to make the same item as me. I'll be sharing the pattern and my fabric recommendations and we can make something together, or you can just pop in and watch me make stuff on camera. But
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited to launch this because a lot of people have asked me like, oh, do you take commissions and things of that nature? And it's like I actually don't. But I'm always down to try to show people like how to sew because I really want to encourage more people to pick up the needle and thread. And so I'm
Yeah.
going to be launching this stream in December so that you can, if you have a machine at home and you've never touched it, hopefully this will inspire you to kind of sit down with it and, get to know your machine, become friends with it, and create some really awesome things with it. So I have a lot of things in the works that people will get to see very soon.
Good. So that's going to be YouTube only?
Uh,
Streaming on YouTube or?
I'm entertaining Twitch. I'm not 100% sure about Twitch just because I feel like Twitch is more of a gaming platform.
Sure, yeah.
So I'm entertaining the idea, but for right now, though, I do intend to go live in December on my YouTube channel.
Okay. Yeah, well, and your YouTube channel is Kia Sangria, right?
It is, yes.
Okay, so definitely go subscribe. If you're interested in learning how to sew or sewing some awesome stuff, because I know that's what Kia's been doing. Like her work is fantastic, guys. Seriously, you should definitely check her out. And I gotta either she'll send me photos or I gotta go stalk her stuff more and get some outfits to share on my blog eventually.
Oh, I will definitely send you a slew of items. You do not have
Gosh,
to.
girl, give me them photos. Gosh. Okay, well, yeah, I guess we can wrap it up here. Also, just a heads up, I'm definitely going to try to start doing more episodes. I'm looking to also maybe have some return favorite guests that have been on the show before, mainly to talk about what the hell they've been up to. Because I mean, like I mentioned at the top of the show, COVID's not slowing down anytime soon. Cons aren't opening up again, so I mean, I'm curious to see how people are managing with their content creation flow. And if you guys want to support the show, I actually recently had my my sponsorship contract with Anchor go up. So I mean, you guys won't be seeing ads on the show for a while or however long it takes. So I mean, oh my gosh. If you'd like to support the show, you don't have to. It's completely voluntary, but you can either do so by pledging to my Patreon. It's free to view, but I mean, if you go to the only tier and pledge any amount that you so choose, I can reward you with immortality on my blog and stickers and a cute little thank you note, or you can support me directly through Anchor itself through their listener support platform. Lightning Palace blog on Twitter. You can watch any episode on your favorite podcasting platform. And that's enough about my plugins. Kia, if they want to go find you, where do they go?
So if you want to find me, you can visit me on Instagram at Kia Sangria NY. You can also find me on Twitter at Kia Sangria 93. You can find me on my blog at Casually Kia. And you can find me on YouTube at Kia Sangria.
All right. And with that, I just want to say thank you so much to Kia for reaching out, being on my show, and I hope you had a great time.
I had so much fun. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, of course. Definitely want to have you on again at some point in the future. Maybe when cons open up or something. I don't know.
Sounds great.
And yeah, just stay tuned for the next episode, and I will talk to you all another time. Take care.
Bye.